Okay, so I was scrolling Twitter recently and I saw someone mention Alex Meyers' recent review of the movie Obsession. Now, I fucking loved this movie as many other people did, so I've been super interested in the discussion around it. And Alex is a YouTuber that I've like passively watched throughout the years, never subscribed or anything, but his videos were like entertaining at the least. Regarding this video though, he's definitely had some takes in the past that have pissed me off, but this video is just like on another level. I'm sure that even like his most loyal viewers agree with that, so let's go into why people hate it so much and what makes it so bad. I'm just gonna start with like offhanded comments in the beginning of the video and then just work my way to like the meat and bones of my problem with this review. Alright, let's start. Okay, just as a quick side note, after having already like written and recorded this video, I have noticed there's a couple YouTube videos and I've even seen some TikToks that are like already discussing this video, and I was wondering if I should even like put it out, because I'm like, if people are already talking about it, does it really need more attention? But I've decided I'm just gonna put it out anyways, because why not? I just want to share my thoughts on it, and I don't know, maybe if enough people show how angry they are, he'll get the message. Anyways, that's it.
What?
I like a man who's in touch with his feminine.
Hey, whoa, didn't ask your opinion, Nikki. So here we get a look at who Nikki is. And she seems like she's kind of one of those girls who's like those like ball buster types, you know? She's always like, ha, bitch can't handle all this. I've never met a guy who can keep up with me. And then they just lay there like SpongeBob.
Now look, I'm already going to stop you there because I'm about to be the woker about this. Making an assumption like this about Nikki from literally a 2-minute scene with her is just that's so weird. Obviously it's supposed to be a joke, but I just don't find it funny at all to apply this like strange semi-misogynistic stereotype to this woman and like trying to deduce how she would be in bed based off of it. Like, you've already irritated me, bro. Like, what are we talking about?
Also, again, somewhat ironic, but earlier Bear was like, you want me to be mean to her? Why would I do that? But then she's literally doing the same thing to him right now, and it's clearly working, so, interesting.
Also, to this point, I think the difference between bringing up a nickname someone was bullied with and light teasing about alcohol preferences is pretty obvious. I mean, it sounds like he's trying to imply that Bear teasing or negging Nikki would have worked, even though we clearly see later on that it doesn't, and he even brings that up, so I don't really know what the point of this comment was.
I mean, it's just a job, Nikki.
Yeah, well, I want to write.
Oh, a crystal mommy and a writer. Well, something tells me this movie would have gone the same way for Bear, whether he made the wish or not.
Again, just another really distasteful joke about women in a movie where its major theme is like men's predation towards women and girls. Like, I don't know why we're making a joke about how Nikki would have acted the same without the use of the wish, because she likes crystals and likes to write and is also Latina. He mentions that like 3 times in this movie. Like, what are we doing?
Why?
My dad's dying.
And you know, to Bear's credit, he's not immediately jumping at the chance to take advantage of her or whatever. Like, he gives her privacy and space. He doesn't want to make it weird. He turns around when she takes her shirt off. And like, based on what people were saying about this movie online, I expected Bear to be this like horribly angry, misogynistic incel dude, right? But like, up until this point, he's just some super socially awkward loser who has a crush on a girl, and he uses a $7 wishing toy that he assumes is not going to work. And then when Nikki starts acting like this, he's very confused and put off by it.
Alright, so this is where we get to the actual genuine problem with this video. What the actual fuck is this guy talking about? Hopefully most people felt as genuinely startled as I did when he tried to literally imply that Bear deserves credit or even praise for not assaulting a woman or like resisting his urges. This is the bare minimum. Not only that, but I don't think this guy actually understands Bear as a character at all. He is accurate in mentioning like his socially awkward nature and his lack of self-esteem, but in that same like breath fails to realize how those aspects of him affect the way he views and treats Nikki. You shouldn't, but like, if you really wanted to, you could get away with excusing Bear's behavior up to this point. But if you've seen the whole movie and specifically seen his actions later on, it's very easy to figure out why he didn't actually sleep with Nikki here, and I can tell you right now, it's not because of concern or interest for her well-being.
Can you lay with me?
I don't know, Nikki.
Obviously, things get different later on, but at least up to this point, Bear has like no idea that the wishing willow worked. And again, to his credit, the very next day he immediately tells Ian that he thinks something's wrong with Nikki. Like he seems genuinely concerned.
So Bear apparently has no idea or indication the one wish willow worked, according to this guy. But I do think it's telling that he conveniently skipped over the scene where Bear went to his computer and literally looked up, does a one wish willow actually work? The scene like doesn't tell us that he 100% knows it worked, especially you can see like he looks relieved relieved after seeing the mixed reviews. But it does show us that, to his point, he does have a suspicion about it. It's not just like it's not even a thought in his mind, even in the car. Like, he looked over to the wish, and then you have him here looking it up, so he's obviously suspecting it. I just think not mentioning that scene is a bit disingenuous. Alex also brings up Bear's so-called like genuine concern when telling Ian about what happened, and again fails to mention the fact that Bear straight up lies to Ian here. Like, you could call it a half lie whether you want to. I think it's a lie about whether he slept with Nikki in the bed, and this is clearly because he is afraid of being perceived as predatory. Like, there's so many small indications in the first act of the movie that give us clues about Bear's true nature and his own like thought process that Alex's like examination of the character seemed to be missing for some reason. How you can make a good judgment about Bear's character while ignoring / missing all of these moments, I have no clue.
You took advantage of me.
I don't think I didn't.
I know, that's why I'm saying you didn't.
Okay, see, this is my point. Like, given the circumstances, Bear's being pretty normal about this, okay? Given what he does and does not know by this point in the movie, like, he could have slept with her, or he could have taken some kind of advantage of her, but he was rather gentlemanly at the time. I mean, you know, for a guy who has this many Cosby sweaters. Wait, do you think this was on purpose? Like, do you think they dressed him like this intentionally?
Again, just doubling down on the point about Bear being some sort of saint for resisting the urge to assault someone and praising his gentlemanliness or whatever. I've already covered why that is insanely problematic, but what I'll mention though is he yet again is refusing to acknowledge the use of dialogue in this scene that helps the viewer understand what kind of person Bear is. When Nikki mentions that she doesn't want Bear to think he took advantage of her, he immediately springs into action to defend himself in like the most defensive way possible. And this is also something that happened in the scene in Bear's bedroom. I don't think many people talk about it very often, but I wanted to cover it. When real Nikki like comes to the surface and freaks out, one of the first things he says is, "Oh, you kissed me, and you made me feel like I did something you didn't like." This is like obviously subconscious for Bear as a character, but immediately he says something that ensures his like perceived innocence from anyone around him. Like, there's this constant theme in this dialogue of deflecting blame and a lack of responsibility being taken. Then we go back to the scene here, and again he says, "I didn't know you were on drugs." His first instinct is to like preserve his character, and the easiest way to do that is to find someone else that can like bear that blame for him. And the reason I'm pointing this all out is because Alex, even though he mentions the phrase media literacy later in this video, seems to either not know what that means or has a very limited perception of what it means, considering his like lack of understanding when it comes to what certain dialogue is meant to communicate to the viewer.
Yes, more than anyone.
Now, okay, up to this point, I feel like Bear has plausible deniability. I mean, there's no way he would have known the cheap toy would work. He was genuinely concerned for Nikki the day after it started, and he refused to take advantage of her even when it was, like, presented to him, right? I mean, she kissed him after all, right? Now, right here, though, at the halfway point of the movie, he does finally start to realize that the wish actually worked. But, like, even then, like, literally every rom-com is about trying to find a way to get the other person to like you, or you manufacture a meet cute or whatever, right? Like, I've seen some internet comment threads where it's like, he only saw her as an object and wanted to remove her autonomy. That's why he made that wish. But like he didn't wish that she would do whatever he wanted, or I wish that she would become obsessed with me and me only. He specifically wished that Nikki would love him more than anyone, which is literally what everyone who has ever had a crush wants. Like, every single fanfic about like, golly gee, I sure wish One Direction would kidnap me and fall in love with me all at the same time. Like, as if half the girls who saw this movie haven't wished the exact same thing before. Jesus
Christ, where do I even start with this? Okay, first off, he mentions that like plenty of rom-coms have similar or like comparable plot lines to what happened in Obsession. And the examples he used here were from 10 Things I Hate About You, and I honestly don't even know why this has to be said, but what happens in these two movies is very clearly different. Pretending you're someone you're not, or like manufacturing a meet cute, as he puts it, is nowhere near close to like the depravity to the physical equivalent of accidentally spiking a woman's drink, but like reaping the benefits of the aftermath anyways. He also goes to say that like most girls have made similar wishes to Bear in this movie, which, yeah, maybe when they were like fucking 11. I have a hard time believing that any woman aged like 25 who doesn't have the same mental age as Bear would make this wish. Like, literally just look at the phrasing. It's like an incredibly juvenile understanding of what love is supposed to be. And this guy thinks like it's somehow a gotcha to say that 15-year-old girls would have wished the same thing and like wrote fanfiction. What the fuck is this guy talking about? It's clear to me, at least, that he believes the majority of the criticism of Bear's character comes from women, which is why his counter argument is aimed towards women, like essentially saying, hey, you did it too, you can't blame him, like in an attempt to again absolve Bear and project the blame onto the very people who are criticizing him. And I don't know about you guys, that's starting to sound a bit familiar.
I'm not saying Bear is a blameless, innocent victim, okay? But I think some of you are a little too quick to attach motivation and subtext to this character that is not based on the movie. Like, it really seems like some of you want him to be a horrible, incel, intentionally malicious guy, regardless of what actually happens in the movie. Even the guy who played Bear himself said this about the character: "I never thought of Bear as a villain, but what really drew me to this story was the gray morals of it all. Bear has good in him and has bad in him, like all of us. I do think that he leans more toward the bad in a lot of ways. Fully the antagonist, though? I don't think I would say fully, because the key thing is he didn't know that the wish was going to work. Sure, his desires were incredibly selfish, totally, 100%, but he didn't know the wish was going to work." And you have to assume that this guy was in close talks with the writer-director of the movie the whole time, so basically both of them are saying that Bear is meant to be ambiguous, and you all are just over here like, nyah.
This video just gets worse and worse. So, Alex claims that the people who criticize Bear are attaching motivation and subtext to him that are not prevalent in the movie. This is just wrong. I've already mentioned like some of Bear's subtext earlier when analyzing his dialogue. It's very much there. You just don't want to look for it. But more importantly, I think, he brings up a quote from Michael Johnston about like his opinion on Bear. And Alex for some reason believes that this like proves his point when it really doesn't. Michael is literally just pointing out like the nuances of playing a character like this, because there are going to be nuances, and his like thought process while he's playing it. The fact that the character has those nuances doesn't mean like he can't be blamed for something or that he can't be a villain. Like literally Michael himself is not a fan of the overall like misconception that like the public gathered from this specific interview, I'm pretty sure. And like if you don't believe me, here's the clip.
And I want to just like take this moment to say like Bear's the villain, okay? Like Bear, there's some grabby headlines out there where it's like Michael Johnston doesn't agree that Bear's the villain. I'm like, no way! Like, hold on a second. Bear is the villain. Like he made his choice. He didn't know the willow would work, but the choices that he made after that, he clearly showed that he just was incapable of thinking about anyone other than himself.
So no, this doesn't really prove that Bear's actions aren't as bad as they seem, or that he doesn't have like misogynistic tendencies.
Like, are you all equally upset about the Disney Channel original movie Zapped or 16 Wishes? Because fundamentally, these are all the same movie. Like, remember Descendants 1, Mal cast a spell that made Ben fall in love with her? Where's all the Reddit threads about that? I don't see no 2-hour video essays.
This fucking guy. These are not fundamentally the same movies. I don't know why he said that. I have watched Zapped, 16 Wishes, and Descendants. Like, I've watched all of those movies. Like, granted, I watched them a while ago, but I'm pretty sure this point is stupid. From what I can remember in Zapped, there are absolutely like morally bad actions taken by the main character Zoe in the movie, but the entire fucking point of the film was that what the main character did was wrong. In the end, like, she learned her lesson about trying to control people's lives, takes responsibility for her actions. This 16-year-old character was able to recognize what she did wrong, unlike Bear, who even at the end of his film never once took responsibility for anything, for what he did, or never felt even remorse for the lives that he ruined. The choice to bring up this movie somehow just makes the guy you're trying to defend look even worse. 16 Wishes, I'm pretty sure, is probably an even worse example, because none of Abby's wishes, which was the 16 of them in the movie, involve love or deal with the theme of consent or in the romantic sense at all. So again, like, completely incomparable. And then obviously we have Mal from Descendants. If I remember correctly, and like, please correct me in the comments if I'm missing anything, I did try and do some research, but I don't know, maybe I didn't do enough. Mal not only puts this spell on Ben with the intention of like stealing a magic wand, like it has nothing to do with wanting to romantically involve herself with him, but at this point in the movie, she's also meant to be an evil person who's doing evil things. You should not be at all rooting for her to do this to him because it's morally bad. That's the whole point of that part to me. So his three examples are essentially two movies where the main character is a 16-year-old girl who does some morally questionable things but learns from it at the end, and one movie where the main character is supposed to be an evil person who does bad things. I don't understand why Alex considered this a good argument and is confused as to why there's like a conversation around the main character's actions in a movie where the whole fucking point is the morality of the main character's actions. Like, I don't get it. Not only is Bear like worse than all the other main characters in the other movies, but unlike those other movies, Obsession as a whole is a movie that is intentionally exploring the themes of consent and autonomy, and uses Bear as an example of someone with extremely twisted morals, and you're confused as to why people are not writing think pieces on these kids' movies. I don't know what this guy is talking about at this point.
I found this comment in a Reddit thread that puts it so perfectly, so I'm just gonna read part of it. But remember, this sub attracts the most obsessed fans of the movie. They flex about watching it at the theater like 10 times already. They make several posts a day about it. They make crazy over-analysis and theories that have no ground in the reality of the film, etc. It's not just a movie for them. They're incredibly emotionally invested and attached to an unhealthy degree. It's almost cultish at this point. And people who are chronically online or are addicted to a piece of media aren't the most emotionally stable or media literate to begin with. So a lot of it comes from an emotional standpoint, hence the refusal to engage with the material in good faith and just making it say what they want the movie to say in an over-the-top, sanctimonious, dogmatic way. It's like a ritual for them, a catharsis. See also Encanto. But anyway.
Bro is shocked that a movie that contains very heavy, like, specific themes that more than half of the world's population can relate to has had an emotional effect on these people, and somehow thinks that those emotional responses make it, like, impossible to analyze the media reasonably, when in, like, this specific scenario, it probably makes them easier for them to do it. Like, I just noticed this movie has a plot which contains themes which are applicable and allegorical to real-life issues.
Once Bear realizes that this happened because of the wish, he finds a phone number on the back of the box and he calls it to try and get his wish changed.
Alright, so first of all, I'm not exactly sure when Alex is claiming that Bear realizes his wish works, if it's in this scene or another scene. But the scene where we can infer that he actually realized it worked was, like, very obviously at the dinner. Bear asks Nikki if she loves him more than anyone else in the world, and she tells him yes. That is his confirmation. And afterwards, after being, like, confronted with the truth about her dad, she asks, why does it matter? And obviously we can, like, take this at face value like Alex would, but the subtext of the scene implies that her question could also be about the wish, to which Bear replies, obviously, it doesn't matter to me. And then we hard cut to the scene where Bear rapes Nikki directly after, which is also conveniently missing and not touched on in Alex's video for some reason. As long as he is being served, it doesn't matter that this was not her choice. And this is, like, further doubled down on when Bear asks to alter the wish instead of, like, immediately cancel it. And what's crazy to me is that this is a line that Alex points out in this clip, but, like, it doesn't find it alarming enough to read into. At this point, it's hardly a mystery as to why his take on Bear is so ridiculous.
Now, just to be clear, I'm not defending all of Bear's actions, okay? Because at this point in the movie, he knows the wish worked, and he knows the real Nikki's soul is, like, trapped or whatever, but he keeps on dating her and tries to, like, continue on as if this isn't the most horrible situation anyone could imagine. Although, to be fair, what is he supposed to do? Because if he breaks up with her, she's gonna hunt him down. And the only other choice, as we learn, is that the spell will break if he dies.
Literally anything. I mean, sure, like, it seems like his options are nil, but the reason Bear is so unlikable as a character is because he refuses to even try. What was he supposed to do is such a stupid take that I've heard, like, plenty of people say when trying to defend Bear, when, like, most of his iniquity comes from the, like, passiveness and, like, his inaction. In the third act, we see him go to the store to find more One Wish Willows, and it literally proves to us that he could have done this earlier and always, like, had the capacity to try, he just didn't want to.
But this also brings up another interesting thematic element of the movie, I guess, which is, like, people are saying, you know, if he truly loved Nikki, then he would do this incredibly selfless thing for her. But remember, his wish was not that Nikki would become obsessed with him. He wished that she would love him. So why isn't her love for him as selfless as you're claiming that his love for her should be? You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you why. Because Wish Nikki's love for Bear that we see in the movie reflects Bear's perception of what love is. And that love is hardly actual love and is more akin to something like obsession. That is why fake Nikki acts that way. The Nikki that was born from Bear's wish has, like, such a limited understanding of what love is. Like, Wish Nikki's actions are just the wish manifesting what it believes Bear would want based on his limited perception of love. To Bear, love is not selflessness, but it's possession. So why would a personality born from his wish be any different? These are, like, all things that we can make assumptions on based on the information that the movie gives us.
Now again, I need to be very clear here, okay? Ultimately, Bear is the bad guy. He doesn't know what he did until late in the movie, but when he figures it out, he just keeps on rationalizing to himself because, like, he wants Nikki, and he doesn't seem to really care that she's being tortured the whole time, but rather he wants the demon to just act like Nikki so that he can pretend that he's actually dating Nikki, you know? Like, this is a bad dude. Yes, absolutely. Nikki is completely innocent. Her life is forever ruined because of some depressed, selfish loser guy, okay? Yes, like that's the outcome of the movie. But how we get to that point, I think, is a lot more nuanced than a lot of you were giving the movie credit for.
Being able to recognize that Bear is the bad guy is, like, not a difficult task at all, but not being able to recognize the severity of every single choice he made after the witch and, like, what it implies about him is a whole other thing. And this is part of the reason why I think Obsession is such a great movie. Bear's character is incredibly well written, but what comes with that is you have people like this guy who are unknowingly doing a disservice to what the character is meant to represent. Like, yes, we know Bear is a bad guy. Yes, we know he's a socially anxious loser. That's the easy things. But he's also a rapist. We should know when to have nuance about these certain things. That doesn't mean we can't call it like it is. So I'm gonna end this video here. Alex's video was just a whole mess, I'm sorry. And thankfully, most of the comments seem to agree with me. I do know that he's, like, put some stuff on his story where he's just, like, doubling down and clearly does not understand what is making everyone so upset. So I don't know if there's hope for him. But I don't know, hopefully this video was cathartic for anyone that, like, was absolutely flabbergasted like I was when I first saw this. I have fun making these kind of videos because I, like, find the process of a response video debugger / like debunking kind of video easier than making something from scratch, even though I do have plenty ideas for those. Like, I just haven't gotten it fully written down yet. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Please comment with your opinions. I would love to hear them. All right, goodbye.
Use your brain! Use your brain! Use your brain! The thing in your head, use it!